Hi everyone, I have great news. Michelle has agreed to do another video with us, and we're going to be talking about the new home inspection law in Massachusetts. And this is Massachusetts only because this seems to be the only state that seems to care.
So far. Other states may follow suit.
They will follow suit eventually. I think you first told me about the home inspection, was it 2-3 months ago that sort of came up?
So the law was actually passed last summer.
Yeah.
So summer of 2024, the Massachusetts Affordable Homes Act included a whole lot of provisions, and one of them is this home inspection law. It was supposed to go into effect earlier this summer, June 15th. It has now been postponed till October 15th, but it does appear that it will go into effect in October for sure.
Give us a quick rundown, and I will interrupt you periodically with questions.
Right. So this new law is going to prohibit buyers from waiving their right to have a home inspection, and it's going to prohibit sellers from accepting an offer where the buyer has waived their right to a home inspection. So I guess to take it a step back, in a normal typical real estate market, the normal typical purchase process is that you make an offer, your offer is accepted, you have a home inspection. Yeah. And that gives you the right to either back out if there are things about the property that you're uncomfortable with, or maybe try to renegotiate the price or some things with the seller. Ever since COVID, we've had kind of an atypical real estate market. So the last several years, we've just had such a shortage of homes and so much demand for properties that buyers have gotten into the habit of waiving their right to a home inspection. They do this to make their offer very attractive to a seller. A seller loves not having to worry about whether the home inspection is going to bring up issues and cost them money or cost them the sale. So it has become commonplace, and as a result, more and more buyers have really felt pressured. It feels like the only way they can get an offer is accepted is to not have an inspection.
I've had quite a few clients, they're like, do we have to waive home inspection? We don't want to waive home inspection.
Sure.
And I'm like, I know they're getting, we go back like 3-4 years ago, they were getting 10, 15, 16 offers on a property. And it was like, look, you don't have to waive it, but I'm just telling you somebody else is waiving home inspection. Or we're dealing against somebody who's paying cash.
I mean, there are buyers who are in a position where they can waive a home inspection. Maybe they're a licensed contractor, or they know a licensed contractor and they can take a good look at the property. But for the average person, it's really not a good idea to waive a home inspection. And I know it's been a hard position for us as real estate agents, because we certainly don't want to encourage a buyer to do that, but we also don't want them to lose out on every house they make an offer on. So I think this really is going to be a very good thing for buyers. It's going to level out the playing field. But obviously it's been nice for sellers. Many sellers have not had to worry about a home inspection, and now that won't be the case after October.
Now, I have buyers who want to waive home inspection, or they at least want to not do a home inspection.
Right.
So it's not that they're being required to do one, it's that they have to be given the time frame to do one, sort of like with the lead paint.
Yes.
Where there's that 10-day period where they can get a lead paint inspection.
Correct.
Although with the lead, a buyer
can waive their right to a lead paint inspection, but at this point it appears they will not be able to waive their right to a home inspection. But yes, to their point, once that offer is accepted, they can say, you know what, I don't want to do a home inspection. For whatever reason, I'm going to be gutting this house and renovating it anyway, or I am a contractor, and I don't want to spend the money on a home inspection. So nobody's going to ever force a buyer to have a home inspection. They're just going to be prohibited from making that an incentive in their offer.
Now, what if my intent is to still try and make my offer look attractive?
Right.
And so I'm submitting the offer, and it says we'll do a home inspection within X number of days, but I want to let the other agent know, hey, wink, wink, we're not going to be doing a home inspection. Can I do that?
No.
No. So,
no winking.
No winking, no nodding, no colluding with anybody.
Right. There really cannot be anything in the offer that suggests that you're not going to have a home inspection or any sort of notes passed under the table.
So I can't say, the offer is being submitted today to be accepted within 24 hours, and we'll do a home inspection within 12 hours of that.
So the way the law is worded is that the time frame has to be reasonable. So you can't say I'll have a home inspection and let you know within an hour, right? Because that's not even possible. 24 hours is tight. 72 hours I don't think is, I think that's very feasible.
I've submitted a lot of offers with a 72-hour inspection to try and get a quick purchase and sale, and everything's already lined up. And they do the inspection. They're just like putting the offer in on Monday, we're doing the home inspection on Wednesday, we're purchase and sale on Friday. Like that does happen.
I've seen buyer agents, maybe you've done this, they've already contacted a home inspector and sort of tentatively scheduled a home inspection before they write the offer. So in the offer they say,
I've
inspection
actually done
scheduled.
home inspections before offer.
That's a possibility as well. But
Now, hold it. If you're doing the home inspection before the offer,
you still
is there
can't.
any language?
You still can't waive it with
so-
the offer. The offer cannot be accepted on the condition that
Okay.
the inspection. So that is a good question.
You could still do a second inspection if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you didn't love the one you had, they can't stop you from having another one.
Correct. So yes, the inspection time frame has to be reasonable, which again is a real subjective term. So 24 hours is probably a little bit unreasonable, but it's not out of the question. But 48 or
they didn't give a
72?
minimum. They didn't give a minimum, did they?
No,
It still isn't in effect yet. Like they might actually.
it's not. The forms haven't been
Yeah.
created yet. But as you know, in a normal market, usually it's going to be 7 days or 10 days or something like that.
I mean,
even 2
I
weeks.
usually try and do 10 to 12 days. Like I tried to get purchase and sale from 12 to 14 days, and I try and get home inspection within 10 to 11 days, maybe
Yeah.
12 at most.
Yeah.
And honestly, most of my clients are able to get that inspection done within about 6 or 7 days usually.
So some exceptions to the law. One of them is that if the property is being passed to a family member, a divorce, right? It was a divorce and the spouses are selling the property to one of the spouses, right?
Okay.
Because they're no longer going to own it together, now just one will own it. Or maybe parents passing a home on to their kids and maybe it's for $1. Somebody's really sort of giving the
So
house.
if you're inheriting it in a will or they're,
Yeah.
they're putting it into a trust and passing it on to a
Yes.
family member to manage the trust.
Yes, they also say, right, if it's for the purposes of estate planning, so that is the owner now conveying it to a trust. Not an issue there. If you're buying new construction and the builder is putting a 1-year warranty, which is pretty typical on the property, then the buyer could waive the inspection.
What if it's a
Acceptable.
contractor buying a house for a rehab?
To my understanding, they still
still
can't. They still can't waive the right because there may be another buyer out there that is making an offer with the home inspection contingency.
Gotcha.
And again, that's an unfair playing field if the person who's waiving the inspection.
Can I tell the listing agent my buyer's a contractor buying the house to flip? I'm not saying we're not going to do the home inspection,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of.
I think you could. I mean, that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be an inspection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you could with the buyer's permission. If you're going to share confidential
Yeah.
information about the buyer, you want their permission. But yeah, it would be okay to say that the buyer is a contractor, but nothing that suggests or indicates that they won't be doing an inspection. The seller will find out after
no
the offer's
skirting that
accepted.
line.
No.
All right.
No. I know real estate agents are going to have significant penalties
Yeah.
if we encourage or even allow this to happen. Not quite clear yet on what the penalty would be to a buyer or a seller.
What happens to me as a listing agent if someone submits an offer that has waived home inspection, but I am required by law to present
Right.
all offers to my client?
Yeah, we are absolutely required to give the offer to the seller, but also to tell the seller you can't accept the offer like this. I can go back and ask the buyer to change their offer.
So we can counter, you have not included home inspection,
Yeah,
we will
let's
accept
see.
this offer provided
please write a clean-
Please write a clean offer. Yeah.
a clean offer. One thing, and it hasn't been created yet, but there's going to be a disclosure form. So the seller's agent is going to be required to have the seller sign that form acknowledging that they cannot accept an offer with a waived home inspection. And then the buyer, I believe, will be signing the same waiver when they write the offer. So probably it'll get posted, for real estate agents, we'd post it in MLS.
Yep.
So the buyer agent could have their buyer sign it and submit it. Now we've got one disclosure signed by both the buyer and the seller, everybody acknowledging the right to a home inspection has not been waived.
Okay. I mean, my big concern was when they said you were going to have a home inspection. It
Right.
sounded like you're going to have one. And I know when something becomes mandatory, the price goes up. But it's not that you have to have a
Right.
home inspection, it's that you have to have the right to a home inspection.
Exactly. Actually, one other thing, this comes up a lot. So sometimes a buyer writes an offer and has a provision in there that they're having a home inspection, but the language will be something like, buyer will accept the property condition unless home inspection issues amount to more than, let's say, $15,000. I'm not coming up with the right wording right now, but essentially the buyer is saying we will accept up to a certain amount of issues in dollar value before we potentially back out to try and renegotiate. So that is something that's used today. That will not be prohibited. So a buyer who is very handy and not concerned and wants to tell the seller that they're not going to nickel and dime and want every outlet fixed and little tiny things might put a provision in there. And maybe they say up to $50,000, up to $100,000.
Yeah.
Can they put the value of the entire sale price? No, that's not reasonable. So it has to be reasonable, but
So-
the buyer could make their offer a little more attractive.
So you're going into a house and you know it needs a furnace, you know it needs a
Yeah.
roof, and you know it needs a new electrical panel. So you're adding up, all right, 20 for the heat, 20 for the roof, $2,000 for the panel. I'm going to assume those costs. So it's going to have to be repairs above and
Right.
beyond that. So something structural, termite damage, or you could say home inspection excluding roof, furnace, and electric
Not
panel.
excluding it, but maybe to say buyer is aware of these issues. In other words, doesn't plan to try to renegotiate or back out because of those issues. I think overall it is a good thing. I think it's going to allow more buyers to get into homes in a reasonable way without risking finding out later that something is wrong
And
with
this
the
is supposed to
property.
go into effect, you said,
October 15th, yes. So prior to that time, we're going to start getting forms. We're going to know more about the process. Maybe we'll come back on here and, and talk with a few more details, but I think we have a pretty good idea now of how it's going to look.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us. And as always, everyone's favorite, Michelle
yes.
Oates.
Thanks so much.
Have a great day, everyone.